case of you'll ask me these questions that you sent me earlier, or shall I start by explaining what this YMCA does, and maybe that can help you or not? What do you want me to do?
You can have a brief introduction and then we can ask some specific questions.
Okay. Right, well this YMCA was built 20 years ago, and primarily it was built to house young people that had nowhere else to live, i.e. they had problems at home, and for whatever reason they couldn't live at home, they would live here. We would, this place is about supported accommodation, so we would give them support so that they can live independently. Okay, so a lot of our young people come because of abuse, neglect, or maybe even some big rows at home where mum and dad no longer want them to live in the home. That's generally what the type of work we do. What we did to add to the service, we brought in lots of training and education and volunteering projects and various other things like complementary services to help our young people, not just here but also in the locality. So young people in Southend or Southeast Essex could come and get some training here as well. So if you like, we started as a hostel, we still are running a hostel, but we also have training, education, volunteering projects and stuff like that here as well. Complementary services to what we're currently doing with the housing. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
And one more question I want to ask. I searched online, I found an organization called YMCA England.
Yes.
Is there any connection between your
Yes,
groups?
there is. It's a good question as well.
Brand?
I'm sorry?
It's a brand or?
The YMCA England, they actually own this building. They own quite a lot of things, but they actually own, for want of a better word, 34 other hostels. Okay, and basically we are the managing agent for YMCA England. We're known as the Southend YMCA. So if you like, the building's owned by them, and we are staff that run it because we're local people and we understand the need of young people locally. It's like if they were to set up one in, say, Chelmsford, maybe homelessness isn't a problem in Chelmsford, and maybe there are other issues that they can tackle. So here we think homelessness, training and education, volunteering projects, and all sorts of other complementary services that we have here. We think they're important to the people in Southend. We also run a school here. We also run a bigger school slightly off-site. We have what's known as an SOS bus, which goes out into the community to help people that get in difficulty and drink too much and get into trouble in the nightclubs and the pubs. We do that in Southend and Basildon. So we've got many services, and that's why I think some of your questions are going to be quite difficult to answer because there's so many facets to what we do. But it's up to you really. If you want to concentrate on just housing, I can tell you all about housing here, but if you want to look at the whole bigger picture and all the services we do, I'm going to have to be fairly vague about everything because there's so much to explain.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
it's really good.
What's your preference? Do you prefer to focus just on housing, or do you?
I would prefer to focus on housing because I think I will give you too broad a picture otherwise. There's just so many things.
Up to you.
Yeah, I would prefer housing, I think.
Okay,
Because that's what this building's mainly about. So we've got 2 or 3 other buildings, and we've got the bus project, and we've got various other things where we go out into the community.
But if you saw you have some better examples with other activities that you are doing, then probably you can also mention those activities.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we will signpost young people to that, and that will be some of the services that our young people will, our residents will be allowed to go to. It's probably best to concentrate on housing because otherwise it would be very complicated and you won't know what I'm referring to because I'll just be going all over the place. So, so should we just concentrate on Southend YMCA's housing? Okay.
All right. So I've got this kind of question here: is this enterprise registered as a CIC?
CIC.
Yeah,
Okay. We're a registered charity.
Registered charity. Okay.
Yes.
Could you? I think you already mentioned that. Could you really briefly explain again what social problems do you address?
Okay. social problems we address in housing is our young people sometimes have drug issues,
Mhm.
sometimes they have mental health issues, anger issues,
Mhm.
rejection by parents possibly. They may have been abused, they may have been neglected. There's a whole list of issues of young people that are not able to stay at home. I mean, the list is big, but they are kind of the main ones. You know, maybe they've been in prison and been released and got nowhere to go.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's quite a lot.
Yeah, I see.
There isn't one main category, but I think I've hit most of the important ones.
Yes, I think as well. How many employees do you have, or volunteers even?
Okay, well in housing, because we're sticking to
Yes,
that,
yeah.
there are there are 3 full-time staff in the day. There's 1 part-time staff at night, and there's 1 part-timer in the day as well.
All right.
We also have maintenance man and various other services help us out as well. But that are the people that are actually allocated to do housing related work.
How many are you in total? Just to have a picture of the site.
In total,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean Southend.
the Southend YMCA in total, with all of our
Yes.
sites, including the
Yes,
school, I guess would be
yes.
about 60 or 70 staff.
Okay.
60 or 70, okay, it's good.
Yeah, in total. But obviously,
Yes.
housing is.
No, I just wanted to have an idea. What
It's
the
just like
scale.
obviously in a school, we have and I'm sidetracking, but we have specialist teachers that deal in very small classes because the school that we run is for young people that are usually being excluded from all other schools. So they need more one-to-one tuition. So we have a high ratio of staff to students, whereas in housing there's 30 young people and there's basically only 3.5 members of staff to deal with all the residents we have here. So some have high ratios and some have low ratios of staff to young person.
Right. Could I ask which sources of funding do you have?
For housing, we have two main sources. The first one is housing benefit or rent payments, because every room here we have to pay rent. Every person has to pay rent because that's realistic. We are a landlord, and we are preparing every young person to live on their own. So there's rent to be paid. And also there's support, because if a 16-year-old person comes in here and they don't know how to live on their own, they need to be supported. So we will help them get a job or claim benefits, for them to keep clean and tidy, for them to keep their room clean and tidy, to understand what tenancy rules are and how to abide by them. And obviously workers meet with the young people for an hour or 2 a week to discuss all the issues of rent and problems that they're having whilst they no longer live at home and how they're adapting to living on their own. So the two core payments are means of money is rent and support. We also get donations as well because we're a charity. So if we're lucky, we sometimes receive big checks and stuff like that to say that you're doing well, the work you do is good, and people have been doing things like. Have you ever heard of Sleep Easy? Yeah, we call it Sleep Easy. We do we fundraise for this charity. So young people like yourselves, it's a bit of a hint there, will sleep out and get donations for sleeping out rough overnight. Now what that does is it brings awareness to homelessness. It makes young people like yourselves understand what it's like to actually have no home and to sleep rough. And if you get sponsored, you could actually bring money into a place like this which actually tries to alleviate that problem for a young person. So does that kind of make sense? It's like sleeping rough so that others don't have to.
Yeah.
So if you get your donations, it goes into our big pot, and we can try and expand our resources so that we can help more young people. So other people will do fundraising through various means, quiz nights and stuff like that. So occasionally we get checks from local charities or local people that want to fundraise for us. But our big money is rent and also for support. And that comes from the local government, which is Southend Borough Council.
All right. Thank you.
Do you charge these people at a lower rate for the rent?
Yeah, it's a fairly low rent, but obviously if they are working, they have to pay a portion of it. If they're working and earning a lot of money, they pay full rent. If they're on low income, they go to housing benefit and they top it up. and if they're on zero income, i.e. they're unemployed, then all of their rent gets paid because they're on benefits, therefore they're entitled to housing benefit.
Okay.
So it could be like normally you support the people because you are the charity, and also you need to pay the fee for rent a house, right? But
Yes,
just a little. But
Well, we
it's
have a
not
mortgage
long.
on that. We have a mortgage on this building. We have upkeep on the building.
Yeah.
We have to staff it. We have to have security overnight.
Yeah.
Do you
So
understand? So there's a lot of overheads that we have to function like this because it needs repairing, it needs
Yeah.
maintaining, and it needs staffing.
okay. I got it.
Could you explain some of the projects from the beginning where you kind of didn't have any or many resources like material, labor, or even skill? And could you explain how you were able to mobilize resources?
Okay. I'll try and keep it to housing again because
Yes.
there's so many other things I could talk about. I think probably the best thing to explain simply is that when we have young people come here, we don't know too much about them. We don't know if they can cook. So one of the things we try to do is just say, can you manage? Can you make beans on toast? Just basic foods so they can survive. And we started to realise that a lot of our young people couldn't even open a tin of baked beans and make toast, which to you guys probably seems quite simple, but to some of our guys it was quite difficult. So what we kept doing was supporting them and showing them how to make toast and to make basic foods using a microwave, using an oven. And over a period of time, we thought we could make a course out of it. So it wouldn't be just a case of I'd sit with a young person to show them something quite basic. We would do it, we'd make a course, and we'd have health and hygiene and health and safety and food preparation. We'd make it so that it's like a 12-week curriculum, and they'd learn lots of things, and at the end of it, they would have qualifications. Now, that's all very well, but obviously that costs money. So we look for funders to fund that kind of thing. So we would look through the education system to see if they can help us, and they did. And what actually came of it in the end is we had a project called Food for Thought. We called it that because obviously, it's thought-provoking, and in the end it will educate young people on how to eat healthily and eat on a budget. Because obviously most of our young people here are unemployed, so therefore they need to understand how to prepare good quality meals that are nutritious and they don't cost a lot. Because the easiest thing in the world is to get your 50-something pound dole money and spend it on a couple of curries and a pizza, and it's gone. So what we want is them to actually be able to budget properly and live healthier lives. Does that kind of make sense? And we built a course around that, and obviously it helps our young people here as well as other young people in the locality to understand it and get those skills.
Okay, thank you. Have there been any situations that you decided to pursue a specific project because of the resources that you had in hand?
I suppose that's a good example. We pursued that project because we thought that was very valid for our young people, particularly when they first arrive. Because we give them a room which is nice and clean and tidy, we give them a warm environment, we show them how to budget, we show them how to do things, but at the end of the day they need to know how to sustain themselves and eat well. And I think that was one of the main things that in the early days really, really helped every young person here.
All right.
Has there been some situations that you start some programs, for example, for these people or something like this because you already have, for example, some stuff and then you think you can utilize them, or you have collected some resources that you want to use, something like this?
So I don't really understand what...
Let's say, for example, you get some resources from other charities or other, network, and then you think, okay, now I have these kind of resources, let's think what we can do. So you collect your resources first, and then decide how to use those resources.
Well, again, from housing, an example of that maybe is, say, a charity would say that, we've got a vehicle that you can borrow and use in exchange for some of the things that we may be using our kitchens here. Is that what you're getting at, using their resources, and we kind of work with them, they can use some of our resources?
Yes, or for example, get some donations And at the beginning, you have no idea how you are going to use that, but then you try to find out some solutions for that.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time we identify
if
a
the
need.
housing doesn't work, then give us some examples.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's loads of projects. I think what it is, we usually identify a need. So, for instance, at the moment we have 30 young people here, and we've got a big waiting list. And what that means is, until someone moves out, someone else moves in.
So maximum, sorry.
So we're not going to throw anyone out. So what are we going to do? We've got 15 on the waiting list, and there's 30 in here. So what do we need to do? We need to make more flats. Yeah. Sorry. Did you have a question?
No, I got the answer. It's just the maximum is only 30 young
Yes,
people can
only
live there. And then for other people,
This
they
is-
need to waste.
Yeah,
to
we
live for
can't
it.
can't go anywhere at the moment because again, it's not our building, so we can't afford to. At the moment, can't afford to develop it. But one day that day may come. But at the moment, what we've done is that we've identified that we need more flats because we're always full, always. So we've managed to get onto funders to help us and give us donations to help us development properties that are in disrepair. So we do them up and we get the funding because it's actually going to help homeless young people. So we get a contribution towards that. We still have to fundraise with that sleep easy I spoke about. That gets us a few £1,000s a year, and it goes towards developing these flats. And at the moment, we've got between 4 and 8 flats being developed. So that eventually, we won't have 30 flats. We will have what we call an extra 8 bed spaces. So there'll be 38 flats or forms of accommodation. So we're hoping to have that all completed by June. So if you came back in here, how many people do you house? At the moment 30, but in June we should have 38.
Oh.
Is that answering your question?
Almost. Here you said that we start from a need and then try to find the resources.
Yes.
I want some examples from the other side.
Okay, where someone gives us resources.
Give you some resources, then you try to think, okay, what kind of need can be satisfied?
Okay, well apart from just money, and you know, we don't normally get money, someone doesn't normally come to us and say, here's some money, do something with it. Most people want to see that, you know, if we gave you some money, what could you do with it? So we will identify that need. But some people have come to us with vehicles and things like that, saying, you know, we've got an old vehicle, can you use it? So, or some old IT equipment. That's happened in the past.
That's good.
So sometimes we've had some IT equipment, but generally speaking, IT equipment tends to go out of it gets old quite quickly. So we're quite good with our IT. You know, we're quite up to date. I think there's going to be some questions about that anyway. But yes, we have been given donations. Donations are closed to young people. Quite often people say, look, I've got a lot of stuff here. Sometimes shops, sometimes hotels are emptying out, and they've got good quality stuff, and say that, you know, your young people are in need. Would you be able to do something with these clothes or this bedding? And we always distribute to our young people.
This is a good example.
Okay.
Have there been any situations that you have created something from nothing? I mean, for example, creating a new market or providing a new service that did not exist before?
We've done a lot of that, but not quite so much in housing. The only kind of developments that are ongoing at the moment is we're changing from 30 beds to 38, and hopefully more. But the complementary services, we've set up an SOS bus because there was people getting drunk in town and causing a lot of trouble. What actually that did is, it's not just a case of they have fights and they lose their wallets and they're crying and there's all sorts of problems, but by setting up this bus in the high street, they come to the bus and we usually solve the issues. What that does do is it helps out the police, it helps out the NHS, accident and emergency, and it also helps out all the pubs and clubs and keeps trouble to a minimum and people in distress to a minimum. So it actually helps society, local society, the local community. And you know, that was literally born out of nothing. You know, we saw a need where people were just getting drunk, particularly young people, because that's what young people tend to do in this country, unfortunately. And we've obviously helped with minimise the problems to the town, because there was obviously a lot of damage being done, people having stolen wallets, getting stabbed. There's been lots of issues that we've been able to to minimise the problems. Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay, one last question from me. Have there been any situations that you have used hidden or untapped local resources that the organization failed to recognize, value, or use adequately?
Hidden.
Like some kind of resource that you didn't even realize you have.
Okay.
So, for example, some houses that are empty and you see it's not being used, so you decide to, for example, use that for renting to young people.
We've been trying that. That's kind of what we're doing with the property I was telling you about. These properties have been empty for over 2 years.
Okay.
We've identified it. We've gone to negotiate prices to keep the price down because naturally we're a charity. We haven't got lots of money, and yes, we've developed them. And as I say, we will have that completed in June, and people will be living in it.
Great.
So yes, we have done that.
Okay, thank you. Right, wants to go next? You can go from 16.
Have there been any chances in the environment over the past few years that constrain your access to resources?
Constraints. Yes, I think most of it is probably. I don't know if you've asked any other people these questions, but in money, we get funding cuts because the government are restricting money to many sectors, but particularly the voluntary sector and particularly the support element to what we do. Our money is being cut. The rent is okay, but the supporting money from supporting people, which is an organisation within the council, we're getting sort of 3% annual cuts, which obviously hurt us because it's very difficult to still produce the same quality of service for less money year upon year. But we still do it, but it's harder and harder to do.
Okay, thank you. So, an important thing is that could you please provide us some brief overview of your network?
Network as in
Yes.
the people that we network with, or our computer network?
No,
People
People.
you know,
And
network with.
organizations.
Okay,
Yes.
right, yeah, the organisations that we, basically most of the organisations that refer to us will be the police, could be other housing providers, it could be parents, could be friends. We network with other social services, the council. These are all areas where young people present themselves as homeless or being at a threat of being homeless, and these are all people that we network with so that we can try and serve those young people to get them housed as quickly as possible.
So, which do you think is most important for you?
They're all important. The one that we have the most dealing with would be the council.
Just for the funding or anything else?
No, they would find. See, when a person, any person, becomes homeless, they will look for where do I go, and most people don't know. So they will look through the telephone book or ask friends, and people will look at local homeless charities or homeless organisations, or they will go to the council and say to the council, "Hey, look, I'm homeless. My mum's kicked me out, and I don't know what to do. I've never been homeless." And then the council will look at their immediate need. If you're under 18, they must find you somewhere, must. If you're over 18, they will help you, but they don't have to, by law, find you anywhere. So what they will do, they will look at the options of which organisations can help you, and we are one of those options. Of course, we're the best option. But yes, we deal with housing young people between the ages of 16 and 25. So that's our specialism. So most young people will be referred to here to see if we can help.
I have one question, like further one is like normally, I mean, for example, before do this one, I do some research, and for example, like social starters, they are also kind of like they help you to develop an organization or something, but they have some program. It's like, for example, they have 6 weeks to 12 weeks. I mean, for the homeless, I mean, it's what the time. I mean, normally, for example, you tell us you have you just have 30 people who live here. And what is the time? I mean, they can live here all the time, or do you have some?
So it's quite a good question, really. We put on our literature and on our internet, we always put a young person's average stay is anything from 6 months to 2 years.
6 months to 2 years.
Yeah, but everyone's needs are different and everyone's capabilities are different.
Yeah.
Now, I might come here, if you have to have a good imagination now.
Okay.
If I was 18 years old, I might come here and I'm not picking up the skills very quickly. So I'm not learning very quickly.
Yeah.
So I will be here for 2 years to try and learn those skills so I can move on.
Okay.
It may be more.
Yeah.
But because that 2 years is up, we don't look at our watch and say, well, you've got to go and become
Yeah.
homeless again. We work with them until they're ready to leave and they're ready to live independently.
Okay, I got the point. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupt you. Sorry.
That's okay.
You never force them to leave, but you will educate them. And when they got the skills, and
Yeah.
when they think that they have already, it's okay for go to the market or something, and they will leave.
To go to the council to say, can they get a flat, or to go to an estate agent to say that they've saved up a deposit and they can now live on their own. I think a lot of landlords will see us as a good support, so they're getting from us a young person that's succeeded and done well and can live on their own. Because you guys seem quite educated, you seem quite bright, and you probably do know how to live on your own, even though you may not have done it. But there's some of the guys here, particularly the young ones, 16 years old, they don't really know how to live on their own. They come here, they're away from mum and dad, and they're relieved because all the problems have stopped. But do they know how to wash themselves? Do they know how to go and make sure they sign on? Do they know how to get a job? Do they know how to budget? Budgeting is really important. You give a 16-year-old who's never done it before, here's your £50, deal with it. You've got to wash your clothes, you've got to make sure you've got toiletries, you've got to feed yourself, you've got to clothe yourself, you've got to keep yourself warm. All these things cost money, and £50 has got to be spent very wisely on all these things. And that's what we help them with.
Cool, it's really good. Okay, one more question is like, did your network ever help you in acquiring new knowledge, skills that are essential to your organization? If so, could you please elaborate further?
Sorry, new knowledge, what was the first bit?
Did your network ever help you in acquiring new knowledge, skills that are essential to your organization?
Did your network ever help to create new skills?
I mean, the network help you.
All the time, really. It's always changing, and the network of people that we deal with, it's always changing. Sometimes we change it, sometimes they change it. At the moment, we have what's known as a referral panel.
Yeah.
So if I was a person that's homeless and I was 19 years old, my name will be put forward before this panel, and we will look to see where this person could potentially be housed. And there'll be, like this, there'll be 10 people from each different scheme will be around the table. Some will be from mental health. I haven't got mental health, so they don't need to see me. Some don't accommodate people under 25, so that's me out of that one. But obviously places like the YMCA and other providers I will be able to look at. And then they will look at my needs and see, okay, well, John's, he's homeless, but he smokes drugs, so we need to kind of look at a special place to kind of help him, but at the same time we need to house him as well. So do you understand what I'm saying? Is that you have to look at the person's needs before they are referred to the scheme, like the YMCA, so that we can interview them to find out how we can help and then offer them a place.
Okay.
Before this panel started, young people used to just turn up at the door, bang on the door and say, can you help me? My friend told me about this place. But now it's done with the opportunity for a person not just to come to the YMCA, but they might have 3 or 4 possibilities. Most of these schemes are full. The resources simply aren't out there to have vacant rooms so a young person can just go inside. There has to be a process, and sometimes it can take weeks to accommodate a homeless young person. It's quite sad, but unfortunately that's the way it is.
Okay. could be have a problem. It's like okay. Has your network ever changed your resource mobilization strategy? Intentionally
or unintentionally.
Could you repeat again? Because
Did you try that one?
yeah, I mean because this one is a little bit difficult. Okay.
Has your network ever changed your resource mobilization strategy intentionally or unintentionally?
I think it's always intentionally. As I think I explained about the panel,
Yes.
beforehand people used to just refer themselves to here, but now we go to have a panel where young people have got more options. And I think that's really important, that we're not in competition, but all the providers that help homeless people all work together. So we've kind of intentionally worked it, so the more people we can get around the table, the more people we can help. Is that an answer to that? Yeah?
Yes, that's a good example. If you have any other examples that the idea is mainly understanding how your networks their resources impact your resource mobilization and how they share any type of resources with you, and as a result of that you change your program, you change your strategies.
Yeah, the internal side of things, we change it to suit the need of a young person. So if you've got drug issues, we will work around you and we will do everything to make sure we help you. If you've got anger management, we will do that. But externally, we are very much governed by supporting people. These are the guys I said that pay the money from the council to help us support our 30 residents. Now they kind of call the tune a little bit. So they say that you've got to do it this way and you've got to work with all the others, which actually works very, very well. So externally, we all work the same to the same template, so the young person is clear about what options they've got. And internally, we help each individual person in a different way because everyone is different, everyone's needs are different.
Mm-hmm.
Is that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yes. And one more. Is it any example or something that when you disagree with your network, for example, if your property provides some housing is very expensive, but you have to use them, how will you deal with this problem?
Yeah, I think the main time we would have a problem where I would disagree with the network, not so much on money, it's about an individual. So say for instance, I'll take you for instance, say when you was at home, you were a problem and you're very violent. So obviously you can't live at home because you're too violent. So we would look at you, but the panel would say, yes, this person is very suitable for the YMCA. They can't live at home because there's too much fighting. We would look at your needs and we would try and help you. But we would possibly say that you are too violent because we have 29 other people and you may inflict that violence on these residents. So I may go back to panel and say, we've looked at this young person, we understand that they can't live at home, but we don't want them here because they're too aggressive. So we have to look after 29 others. We want to look after you, but you're too violent and you're too dangerous. Does that help you? Well, this is where I would disagree with my network, where they will say, no, she's suitable for you. And I'll be saying, no, she's not because she's too aggressive and I'm frightened that she will be aggressive towards our residents. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So it means that you will still refuse to...
We will refuse to accommodate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe someone else could do it, or maybe none of the schemes could do it because this person's too aggressive to deal with, and maybe they will just become homeless. Because it's a bit like some people just are, very few, but some people are not housable because of their problems. You know, chaotic people can cause a lot of chaos within an organisation. Of course we want to help everybody, but if I was your neighbour from hell, you would not like it. You know, if I was taking drugs and beating people up and making noise all night, you would be complaining. And all of you will be complaining about me. It just couldn't work. So this me, if I was a nasty person, am I accommodatable? I don't know. It's a real big issue because people with drugs and what we call kind of multiple needs are very difficult to accommodate. And sometimes, when you see homeless people, some of these homeless people have tried and failed in various places. That's not, I don't want you to quote me on that because that's not everybody, but some people are just too difficult to house.
Okay, I understand. Just like, sorry, you mean it's like someone they really need help. Maybe someone they have some bad behavior or something,
Yes.
like they drug or something.
Yes.
So at this situation, and then you will fail them.
Yeah, we would have to say, I'm sorry, we cannot accommodate you because
Yeah.
your needs are too high and you're too high risk for other people.
Okay. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's a bit like, some people commit crime and they keep doing it and they go to prison because they're not safe in society.
Mm.
It's a bit of an extreme version,
Mm.
but people you're trying to house and they smash the place up or smash people up, what can you do with them? You cannot have them in your house or your hostel. So out they go, and eventually they run out of options.
Yeah. I understand it's good because this is charity. We should do someone who really need the help. It's not someone want to have
That's very true.
some good thing or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
We want to help everybody, but we can't risk the
Yeah.
others.
Okay, understood.
As you explained before, if I am a very violent one,
Okay.
you will refuse to take care of me.
Mhm.
And here is an opposite situation. Whether you have an example that you changed your standard way to deal with some problem.
We would always try to change the standard way. We'd always try and accommodate you where we could. But we have to look at the risk to others. It's like if you were really violent and you were next door to me, I'll be complaining, get her out, it's too much. I mean, I'm talking about very extreme cases, just as a good example for you. It doesn't happen very often, but you have to know that it can happen because this is an example for your questions, really.
Yes. And I noticed that in your website, you listed, is that means only people live here 3 or 5 more years can have the opportunity or the chance to live here if they are homeless. For example, if our students, when we graduate, if we don't have any places to go and
I said
go,
yes,
can
yeah.
you come here?
That is a contractual thing, and that's to do with the council. And I said to you, this organisation called Supporting People, they have a criteria for people coming in. And the criteria is you need to be homeless or at risk of being homeless. You need to have support needs. So in other words, you need to be helped with budgeting or keeping yourself clean and tidy, that kind of thing. You need to have lived in the area because someone from London cannot come down here. And the reason is because the taxpayer here
Yeah.
pays for this facility, and someone from London can't just come in and take the bed space. So you need to live in the area.
Mm.
And the same as if there was, say, Colchester YMCA, and they were being financed by the local government, which is the council. They may say, anyone in the Colchester area, we look after our own. It's not a choice from the YMCA, it's a choice by the people that fund us.
It's really good. So it's really concentrated for here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we never used to work like that, but now they've decided they have to. Because the demand is high, there's so much demand, they have to make sure that we look after the boys and girls from Southend, only from Southend, not from outer area.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
I saw that in YMCA there are community school and South Church Vacation College.
Yes.
Is this learning is just provide for young people live here or for the whole?
For everyone in the area. Not just for young people here, it's for anyone in the area. The school runs differently, that's why we're kind of concentrated on housing, but we have a community school and it's, at the moment there's 35 students there. I think I spoke about earlier the fact that we've got quite a high concentration on tutors. All of these young people have been removed from school or cannot go to mainstream school because of behavioural difficulties and stuff like that. So it's a specialist school to give them specialist concentrated work so they can get some qualifications. If we didn't have our school, our young people will struggle to get an education in mainstream schools because they're not functioning very well in mainstream school. Does that make sense? They can't go to a normal school because there's too many problems, so they go to a school where we concentrate and help them with their needs. We keep it small so that we can help all the young people that come.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
Thank you.
I have one question. It's like, nowadays we're living in an information age. So I think now when you do publicity, it's very different from the past. I think now, normally you use the website. For example, we can check from that. And do you use the other way? For example, do you use some application, or maybe you cooperate with another institution and they will help you to make an advertisement or something like? My question is how do you publish to yourself? Just a website or newspaper, magazine or something?
Generally for housing, we publicise ourselves through the police, through the council, through social services. Most of it is the professionals that work in the police and social services and schools. They know about us. We have a website, but yeah, we don't keep producing brochures and pamphlets and stuff like that. Most people in the sector know about where to house young people.
Okay.
And ultimately, if a young person has no idea, they will go to the police station and say, I'm homeless, or they will go to the council and say, I'm homeless, I don't know what to do. Maybe they'll go to the school and just say, my mum's kicked me out, and the school will make some inquiries, and they'll go to the council, and the council will refer them to here via that access referral panel that I spoke to you about. So sometimes there's quite a lot of communication through the networks to find the right place to house that person. I mean, there are people that are in their 50s that become homeless. They would never come here because our criteria is 16 to 25. But they will look to see where they can be housed, if at all they can be housed. You must always remember there's a lot of homeless people and there's not many properties. So there will always be people walking the streets. It's very, very sad, and there's lots of organisations that are trying to minimise that, particularly in the cold winter months. They do everything they can. They open up churches so that people don't have to sleep in the cold. But in the summer, there's probably more homeless people about. It's just natural.
This summer it will be more.
In the summer, there's usually more homeless people. People that live and sleep on the streets, yeah.
Okay.
Because a lot more organisations and churches and charities open up the doors just to house people so they're not cold and they won't die. Because in the summer, life is a bit better. In the winter, it's cruelest. You know, you imagine sleeping out and it's -2. People can die in that.
You mentioned that there has been some cut, for example, in your funding. And how do you manage that? What do you do probably to still have the same goals and objectives?
Yes, it hasn't affected us. I mean, what we do is we're just very, very careful on what we spend. We just drive the price down. It's like if people want to come in and sell us things, we need to say that we can't afford it. Can you give us a better option? Or can you understand that we've had funding cuts? So can you keep your prices down? That's what we've done so far.
Have you tried to find, for example, other sources of funding?
Yes, and we have been successful.
Okay,
but it's
so
not drip fed through. We would go to there's various places really that are housing related funding. We could go to one of many, and again it's like getting people to donate through other charities. We could get churches to do work for us and fundraise for us. It's that kind of thing. We could go to YMCA England and say that, you know, is there a small pot of money that you can help us top up? You know, maybe a £5,000 donation, which isn't a lot, but that would help us towards our 3% cut for that year.
Mm.
So there's various fundraising that goes on that gives us little increments, but it's usually enough to help us with that
Do you have
percentage
to,
loss.
I forgot my question.
Maybe I can ask
Now,
another one.
let me just. Do you have to raise the cover all your expenses here locally, or do you have any support from this YMCA?
No, we have to do it all locally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's a bit tough.
yeah. It is tough. Yeah, it is.
Oh, sorry.
The thing is with a charity, it's quite a difficult one because a charity mustn't make profit. Part of being a charity, you mustn't make profit. You can make a little bit of what we call surplus. So say for instance it costs, I don't know, I'll just make a silly figure, £100 a year to run this building. If we made £102, great, because we can run it. So we've got £2 over. We must put that £2 back in, you know, and improve services. Maybe with that £2 we'll get another desk or change the floor or make this place better, or maybe set up a new service. If we fall short of the money, that's where we will be looking to see who can fundraise for us or something like that. But generally speaking, we always keep our heads above water, and it's a very fine margin. We cannot go out and make loads of profit. We can't make £200. It's wrong.
Have there been cases that you introduce other products or services to cover, for example, the costs in housing or
Yes.
something like that?
Yeah, and that's right. Because obviously in the building at the moment we have a food program, we have a music program, we have a volunteer program,
Okay.
we have Princess Trust, we have this SOS bus, and yes, they help us with paying the electricity bills, and we all have cohabit together, so it spreads the costs.
And has introduction of any of these services or products been because of lack of enough money?
It's sharing the costs. It's a bit like, you know,
Oh,
if I lived on my own, I would still have to pay the water rates. But if we all live together, then same price, just divided by.
Are they
By two.
managed separately or are they all managed by you?
Me
Each of
personally?
these products, I mean,
Me personally,
yes.
no, I only manage housing.
Oh, okay.
We have a manager for all the other schemes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's why I wanted to concentrate on housing, because otherwise I'm going into everyone else's area. It's about like you're a teacher or a tutor and you specialise in what you're doing. But if I
That's
start,
totally fine.
but if I started talking about physics or maths, there's another tutor to deal
Yes,
with that. Yeah.
that's fine. Have there been situations that you see it's not possible to plan in advance, and then you design the project while it's being implemented? I think your cooking course was something like this. Do you have any other examples in mind?
Where we haven't been able to plan, where we have an issue but we cannot plan to deal with the issue. Is that what you're saying?
You start a project and then work with some networks with other charities, and then through this process see which direction really through this collaboration you have to follow. At the beginning you don't know exactly what's the direction of the project, how to mobilize resources.
Really? No, not so much. No, I can't really give you an example in housing where that's happened. Most of the time we have a direction, and if we cannot get there because of money or resources are short, then we can kind of close it down and then reopen it when things are better.
Any other examples like the cooking course, for example, that you mentioned? Some other programs for the people living here?
Yeah, there's loads really. And
Okay.
like volunteering, you know, we get young people into volunteering services, so that helps them understand and put something back into society. But unfortunately, although they're working, they're not getting paid for it. Job experience, we can get young. We got a like a back to work program where we're getting young people that are unemployed to try and get them employed, and we try to mentor them to get them in. So instead of them going out and banging on doors or giving up, we have a mentor, so someone to support them to look at their skills and maybe get further education so they can go for those jobs that they never thought they could get.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Because I also have another kind of coursework, and it's a kind of operating and starting our own entrepreneurship. So I want to know, is there any possible to work together with you? Because our our coursework is a kind of hand drawing and also some cook program training and some also hand decorations. Or do you want? I just want to know the willingness to work with that.
Yeah, I think there are probably programs that I can refer you to, or maybe you could look at our website. I mean, housing is what's housing? Housing is kind of very structured. Do you understand? Very structured. It's very difficult because we're dealing with young people that have got kind of complex needs, so it needs to be kind of specialist work. But there are other things that we do with volunteering and other programs that we've got that you might be able to get involved with, but not really in the housing aspect. But maybe if you looked on our website and saw some things that you're interested in, if you could contact us, we will try and get you together with them and see if there's any way you can kind of work with them.
Oh, okay. So I also want to know if not work with us. So I want to know, how do you select the partner company? Is there any specific requirements for a company partnership?
No, our partnerships are pretty much set in stone because our young people always take the various routes that I've said. They're either coming from prison or from social services, they've been in care, or they've been thrown out by mum and dad and they've gone to the council and said, can you help me? So we have specific routes. Or a young person may just walk through the door and say, I'm going to be made homeless, or I am homeless, can you help me?
Now, for example, the music program that you mentioned,
Yes.
who run that?
Okay, we have 3 members of staff.
Your own members.
Yeah. YMCA. It's outside. It's the building just outside. It's a music studio for young people. Some of the guys here go on it. Again, it's a course. And it helps young people with music. And a lot of people just think, oh God, what sort of course is that? Just playing guitar all day. It's a lot of guys that we deal with they've got low self-esteem and they're not, they may have left school and can't be bothered, nobody wants me, really can't be bothered to get up. So a lot of it is getting them in, getting to enjoy themselves through music, because everyone likes music in some way. So we're not just developing like the next The Voice or anything like that, but we're just getting people to express themselves and get their confidence back and get up in the morning, and if they have got a talent, we develop that talent and we can move them on, and they can cut discs and they can record and play all the instruments they want, and even perform live. It's about expressing yourself and building your confidence as well as making music.
Have there been cases that you establish a network without having any plan how you want to utilize that kind of relationship?
So what was the first bit?
You start establishing a relationship with a company or a charity, but you don't have any idea probably how you are going to utilize that kind of relationship.
Yeah, I think this has happened on many occasions. I mean,
Give some examples.
I'll give you an example. It's quite a small one, really. The churches, they give out food to homeless people, and they realise we're dealing with homeless people. We send some of our residents that have blown all their money, we send them around to get food parcels. And we send them around there because they've got facilities like a gymnasium and stuff like that. And they send their people here so they can come and sit around our little cafe area and have a hot drink and have a chat and just generally mingle. So it's kind of small stuff like that. And then they can use our bus and we can use their bus, and then suddenly we can kind of develop services. Now the YMCA stands for Young Men's Christian Association. So the core of what we do is a kind of Christian ethos, a religious ethos, if you like. You don't have to be Christians to work here, but obviously you've got to be someone that wants to help young people. And because we've got a Christian base, the churches understand that and they want to work together. So a lot of it is through the fact of Christians want to work with other Christians to help others. But you don't need to be a Christian to be helped. I mean, we have black people, we have Chinese people, we have Indian people, we have Jewish people, and we have Europeans here, and we have English guys as well. So all sorts. The whole idea is we want to help young people, but we have a Christian base.
Let's give us some examples that you didn't have. You start working with another charity or you meet, for example, someone from another charity, and you just start building some kind of relationship with them. But at the beginning, you don't think that you can utilize them for the type of services that you are offering. But then at some point, you say, oh, okay, I have that network, probably I can use them for these kind of services that I'm offering.
Yeah, we have done that. I'm just trying to think of a good example.
If even the example is not related to housing, that's fine. Maybe in other products it's more common.
I think there's does it have to be a charity or does it have to be another similar? Yeah, we do a lot. We do a lot of work with, say, Mind, which is mental health,
Okay.
and they will send some of their clients to here to use our kitchens, and we will send some of our clients because we've realised after a period of time that they've got some mental health issues. So we will use their services so that people can so they can go to see doctors, and they will use our services because they can use the music studio and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So use our facilities so they can recreation because some of the guys with mental health just need something to liven them up a bit, like to develop their cooking or develop music or go on some of our courses. So yes, we swap our skills.
Yeah, that was a good example.
Okay.
And at least the final question from me is, have there been cases that you start working with your network to find a solution for a problem without knowing how to do it at the beginning, and then you start really learning together how to do the task?
Yeah. I mean, again, that would be a case of if we have a client that we've had for a few weeks, you start to understand people the more you're with them. We start to understand their needs, and we start to realise that they're more complex than when we first thought. So they first come in, they're homeless, we want to help them. But we start to realise they've got self-harming issues, they're cutting themselves. We don't understand why, because we're not specialists. So we will go to specialist people that can help us with that. So that's happening all the time. Happening all the time. A young person will come to us and they're homeless, don't like mum and dad anymore, and that's how they would present. Over a period of time, they may say, look, I've been abused by my father. So we have to call the police, we have to investigate, they need to have counselling. There's a series of things, procedures, we need to be confidential with that information, but at the same time, there's some very important information that could potentially lead to prosecution within the family. It's that kind of thing. So really, most of that kind of work is, we don't recognise at the beginning, but it's a journey of support that we realise that there are very serious things that come out over periods of time.
Yeah, perfect. Do you guys have any more questions?
It's all silent.
One question. It's like normally we always gonna to discuss about the external challenges, like how do you manage the people because you have 30 positions, and also how do you get the donation from external. But my question is about internal challenges. Like for example, did you have some problem or some issues about your organization? I mean,
Internally?
Yeah, for example, like maybe I don't know how to say. Just like for example, you have a team, but you need to organize the team member. You know what I mean? So
what if you have problems between team members where they don't get on?
It's not really like this. Just do you have some
challenges?
internal
Let's make it some general questions.
Challenges in the job?
Internal
Yeah,
or
there's
something.
loads. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of challenges because at the end of the day, young people they're growing up, and you're all young,
Yeah.
and
Oh, I got that. They have a special period.
yeah, I mean, there's hormonal challenges. Young people get very aggressive, they get very angry.
Yeah.
I mean, if your mother and father.
Just like for example, now we are 23, but before the 16 to the 20, for this period,
Yeah.
and then they are they want against someone. You know what I mean? In this period,
They want to.
Teenager.
at the teenager period, I don't know. Just like now we can be mature because we are 23, but before the 16 to the 20 for these 4 years, and then they always like they want independent, but they do have this kind of ability. They little bit like very oh my god. It's like for example, like now it's kind of you educate me and I accepted it. But I mean, for example, when we were young, like 16 or 17, we just think we are the number one, you know.
Yes.
We don't like other people
Yes.
educate me. So
Yeah.
that what my
Adolescent behaviour, yeah? Adolescence?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. We get it all the time. Of course, yeah.
for adolescents.
I mean, they can be quite aggressive and they think they know best. And
Yeah.
But we need to give them options. At the end of the day, they make their own decisions, but we will give them informed choices. So if, say for instance, they will ask us questions like, I'm angry and I want to fight my friend and I'm going to kill him, we'll be saying, look, you need to look at it, you need to calm down, you need to look at it, because if you hurt him, the police could be called. We give them all the options, we give them all the scenarios, and ultimately we do not want violence because nothing comes of violence. And we will give them strategies to cope. And if they're still angry, we'll get them to see counsellors or people that deal with anger management. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
We'll put strategies in place so that they can cope with their problems. They may just cry all the time because they've been rejected. They may be very frustrated because they're no longer taking drugs. We deal with it. We put them in front of professionals that can help them, whether it's people to help them with their drug problem, or the fact they're missing drugs, or they're missing their parents, or they need counselling. We will always looking at specialisms or dealing with it ourselves.
And maybe you just also want to talk about the challenges of your job, you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, they are the challenges really.
If there's anything just we want to add.
Yeah, some of the stuff is just minor, but obviously it becomes a problem. So you're my neighbour, and I've got my music up every night. What do you think about that? You're not happy. When you see me, what are you going to do? You're going to. So we said, please don't strangle John. Come and see us. We will sit in a meeting and we'll say, what's the problem, John? Why do you keep turning your music up? It has to come down. If it continues on, you will end up being told to go, because we cannot have this. Because this lady is not the only one. All of these people are complaining about your behaviour. It may be something worse. It may be violence. It may be drugs. It may be having their friends in that are disrespectful. And that is the main problem in the building, is 30 young people living completely different lives, all having to live together. Now this is a big building, but actually when you have 30 young people in it, it becomes quite small, quite personal. Yeah.
So it's like how many percentage do you think the challenge, like for example, just for example, like internal, maybe 30%, external, maybe 70%. What do you think of
What problems?
Yeah, if this the
100%.
challenge, 100%.
100%. Yeah, there's always an issue. As
Okay.
human beings, you know, they don't all
Issue-wise.
like each other. They don't all get on. Most of them have problems from time to
The
time.
proportion of challenges that you have internally and externally, how do you compare them? Do you think there are more internal challenges?
Well, I think the internal ones are just, you know, you versus me, and I'm having problems with you, and you're.
Yeah.
They are normal stuff, but the external ones are usually the most serious.
More serious.
Usually, because the
Absolutely.
external ones are friends that are drug dealing, or parents that are abusing or neglecting. They are serious, whereas most of the kids here are bickering and arguing. Sometimes it can be quite bad, but most of the time, because we're all strangers, we just don't get on.
Yeah.
But outside is the more serious stuff,
Okay.
because that's why they're here.
Yeah.
Not all the time, you know. Some of our young people, you know, it's just been unfortunate, and you know, mum and dad have moved away and they don't want to go.
Yeah.
My mum and dad want to live in Peterborough. I want to stay in Southend with my friends,
Okay.
and it can be as minor as that. But a lot of the time, you know, there's some pretty bad stuff behind it.
Yeah, I can understand.
Any more questions?
But obviously that's quite confidential, you know.
Yes, sure.
Please don't judge every young person that lives in the YMCA.
Yeah,
Thinking, oh my God, they're all had hell lives. It's just something we have to be mindful of.
Yeah, yeah.
So you need to be a bit discreet.
Yeah.
So